How many times have you read the book of Leviticus? And did you find it challenging? Well, I wouldn't be surprised if you did. Most modern Christians find the book of Leviticus very challenging. Beyond challenging, maybe even irrelevant. And with our modern sensibilities, there are certain passages in Leviticus that seem almost ridiculous. But are you aware of the fact that throughout the millennia, when Jewish children were about to learn the Bible, the first book they studied was Leviticus, many of them having the bulk of that book committed to memory before they even started school. And yet we just can't seem to relate. But that shouldn't surprise us, really. Often we don't know the history, historically what was happening with the Jewish people when the book of Leviticus was written. We don't understand the culture that made Leviticus what it was and what it is. Even language, there are phrases that we just can't wrap our minds around, and we find ourselves hoping that we are very quickly going to get to another book. There are words in Leviticus that actually mean something very different than what most people think they mean. Words like holy. Now, for Christians, it's really hard to even define what holy means. It means godly and pure and perfect and sinless. But that's not what the word really means. The word actually means different, set apart. The Israelites, the Jewish people, were called to be set apart, to be different than the pagan tribes that surrounded them. And that's true for God's children today. We are called to be set apart, to be different than the godless society that we're living in. Or what about commandment? Now, when we think of that, we often think of a big, burly drill sergeant shouting orders at his troops. But that's not what the word means. The word is mitzvah, and it actually means divine instruction with the connotation of a moral obligation to make sure that it gets done, to see it through to the end. And the Jewish people don't find it burdensome. As a matter of fact, they think it's a blessing. Each mitzvah is a blessing because it gives them an opportunity through their actions to express to the God of the universe their gratitude for the life that He has given them. And what about law? That word is in Leviticus a lot. Now, when we think of law, we think of rules and regulations and legalities that we better not transgress, because if we do, there is punishment. But that's not what the word means. The word translated law in what we call the Old Testament, certainly in Leviticus, is the word Torah, which comes from the root word yara, which is an archery term, and it means to shoot the arrow right straight to the center of the target. The Jewish people recognized it as teaching, as instruction, loving guidance from the God that loved them, loving instruction in how to be in covenant relationship with the one true God. The book of Leviticus is full of gems like that. So I'd like to encourage you, even though at first blush it might seem difficult, as you read Leviticus again, really dig in. Approach it with an open heart, an open mind. Approach it prayerfully and see how many of God's gems you can dig out for yourself.